Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried & Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you for tuning in once again. As you know, I love you guys for all your support and for believing in me. It means the world to me. You know, you guys are my foot soldiers. You share these over and over again, and I can't believe where we're at. So I wouldn't be here without you guys, so thank you. I'd like to thank our sponsors. Without you, I wouldn't be here either. Siegfried & Jensen, Wasatch Recovery, Thread Wallets, Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics. You guys thank you for just, again, believing in me as well. And then, again, it's not about me. I think that's one of the reasons why this is successful, because I make it about the people that come on the show. And today is no different. Today we're joined by Marty Haws. Marty, thank you for joining us today.
Todd, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, if I would have known 30-something years ago that you'd be sitting in my office having this conversation. For those who don't know Marty, just a little background, and most people in Utah know Marty really well and nationally, but he went to Hillcrest High School. He's an all-state basketball player. He went to BYU. He was an amazing basketball player there. He also did track there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
One of the fastest guys I've ever seen on the court. And you probably hear this a lot, and you're like, yeah, Todd, I've heard that. But really, truly impressive stuff. He's married to Tiffanie Dilly, who I went to high school with, and I think the world of Tiffanie.
She says hello, yeah.
I hope so, yeah. She's awesome, and a shout out to Tiffanie. You've got three amazing kids, Tyler, TJ, and Gabby, who are all, athletes as well. But more importantly, I think they're just good people.
No,
and that's really what I want to talk a lot about today is you're just a good person.
No, thank you, Tom.
You served a mission in Florida. You're a man of faith. You're about work ethic. You're about living by principles. You're about just trying to be the best dad you possibly can be. The research I've done on you, it wasn't just always basketball and stuff like that. It was more of just what's it like to be a good dad and a good husband. And I'm getting emotional as I'm saying this because I was really touched by, some things. When you really start to do some research, you really start to kind of get to know someone outside of what maybe everyone, kind of praises you for. So I'm just grateful that you're here to come share your story.
Thank you. That means a lot. And of course, we're all passionate about that. And I've said many times, Tiffanie and I have said many times that kids come the way they come, and so we're grateful. We are proud of them. They are good kids, and we're certainly blessed in that regard.
That's true. You never know, right? I have 4 kids. You're like, man, I hope they turn out okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You're always hoping and wishing. But why don't we start, Marty? Tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up.
Yeah. So I grew up here in Utah, in Midvale. And, as you mentioned, I went to Hillcrest High School. Yeah. And, that's where our paths crossed. But I'm one of 7 children, and I'm in the middle, so I'm fourth. I have 3 older and 3 younger, and so probably have some of that middle child syndrome going a little bit. Just great brothers and sisters, just kind of normal. My dad was in education, so we grew up, and it seemed like we were always around school events, and my dad was, when I was young, he was a principal, and then he moved into the school district later when I was in high school. But my mom and dad, it seemed like they were super supportive and just willing to be there, wanted to give us everything they could and give us every opportunity to kind of pursue our passions and something that I've grown to really appreciate over time, right? As we get older, it's one of those things where you just go, you know what? It's amazing what they did with 7 kids and trying, and all the stuff that must, and we could have slipped through the cracks, and they, and so it's as you get older, it's something that you you really embrace and appreciate and learn to love and hopefully emulate a little bit,
Yeah, very well said. So, I mean, from what I know of you and, watching you play sports, you're very confident in what you do. How were you as a kid? Were you this confident kid off the court and off the field? I mean, I know you're an athlete in all areas, but, how were you off the field? Were you that confident kid, or was it something you had to build into?
And it's interesting. It's as I look back, and it's getting to be a while ago for us now, right?
Right.
But as I look back, I think sports for me gave me confidence. It was something that I remember being 8, 9, 10 years old and going to a competition, that was kind of like a decathlete where you did all these different events.
Right.
And I came home with this big trophy, and you just kind of, you don't really know what you're doing, but you come away and you feel like, okay, I must be pretty good at this, and then you're just kind of looking for opportunities, and it you remember it was different back then. It wasn't it wasn't specialized in a sport, and it wasn't you're playing everything, and you're just going from one sport to the next, and really in a lot of ways it's keeping you out of trouble, and in a lot of ways it's teaching you good life lessons, learning how to work hard and be a good teammate and be on time, and all the things that kind of can carry over into other parts of your life. And so that was, I wouldn't say that I was this overly confident kid off the court, but sports for me was something that gave me an outlet and gave me a purpose and gave me hope, as we were kind of going forward. And then, you get into high school. And I remember, you mentioned that running track in college. I remember walking into my high school basketball coach's office, and the track coach happened to be in there. And I was a junior in high school, and he said, "There's my state champion 100-meter dash guy." And we all had a good laugh.
You're going, what?
But then he, talked me into coming out and running track, and lo and behold, I ended up winning the 100-meter dash in that year. And I've never forgotten that, and I think it's a good lesson for all of us to learn that, man, don't be afraid to plant a seed with some. I mean, I didn't look at myself as track fast. I just, that was just somebody that had planted that into me and saw something in me, and all of a sudden I go out and do it, and you just, and I've always been grateful to that coach for that, that luckily our paths crossed at that point, and that was the beginning of something else in my life that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's beautifully said as well. It's amazing what we say to someone, the impact it can have on someone,
Incredible, right?
Words are powerful. And I love how he said it. He didn't say, well, maybe you might win state, or who knows. He's like, no, there's my state champion.
Exactly.
And it's like you said, it almost manifested that way because he planted that. Yeah. I'm a huge believer in that. I really am. From what I know of you, you're a hard worker. You've got a really strong work ethic. Is that something your father instilled in you and your mother when you were younger, or were we expected to work hard, that kind of thing?
I think so. I think it's one of those where, looking back, you're going to have to, if you want it, if you're one of 7 with limited resources, you're going to have to earn it, right? I mean,
totally.
Get out there and show me how bad you want this, because we got lots of things pulling us in many different directions. And so I think, that looking back on it, that was probably something that kind of helped mold, a work ethic into me. And, and that probably carried over into different areas, and that's something that Tiff and I have really tried hard with our kids, and kind of said, look, if you're passionate about it, we're passionate about it, and whatever that is. And it's been fun for us to be able to follow that progress and feel like it's something that we're all in it together. And doesn't mean that it's perfect, but it's been something. It's been a great blessing, and it's been something that we've learned to love and really appreciate, and given us so many good memories. And so.
And I think that sports, playing sports, like you're saying, is so good. It teaches you confidence. It teaches you that work ethic. It teaches you to be on time. Overall, it's teaching you just discipline in general. I think that's the beauty of playing a sport or playing an instrument or, whatever it may be for you. But I think that's why getting involved in those things is so important, because look how it's, morphed into what you're doing now and how you even raised all your kids and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, you look at it, and really what we're all trying to do is just find something that we're passionate about, and usually our passion will take us in a direction that is something good, right?
Yeah.
And we've tried to kind of teach our kids that, for my older boys, it's one of those things where you're saying, let's use basketball in this case instead of letting basketball use us. And so many times I think you're growing up and you're trying to figure out, and I'm in the AAU basketball world up to my eyeballs in it, and it's one of those where there's lots of kids that you kind of feel bad for. They jump around from club to club, and parents are behind it pushing, and this game and any game, anything like you mentioned, music, whatever your passion is, it will eat you up and spit you out if you're not careful, right? And so if you can kind of turn the tables on it a little bit and say, no, we're going to use that as the vehicle for the good things that life has to offer. And so that's that was kind of what was behind our efforts is, no, you're going to use basketball or volleyball to as a vehicle to earn a scholarship, possibly, and make a living, possibly. And, who knows beyond that, but really that to me is a key. And I think, for your listeners, and may or may not be sports fans or have, the basketball player, but whatever you're passionate in, it's turning it around and saying, let's use this instead of the other way around, I think can be a good lesson.
Well, I love that. Yeah, having a purpose and some passion behind something means everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I work with a lot of clients who are like, I don't even know what my purpose is. So there's no passion. Right. And I think that's another thing sports can allow you to find, something that, hey, you can have some passion, something you're looking forward to. And I think a lot of times when someone doesn't have that, they struggle.
Well, and so many times you get into a situation where you are passionate about it. And I see this all the time where it's like, we're just gunning for this. You have this vision of what it's going to be like in high school and beyond.
Yeah.
And really, I say it all the time to parents, enjoy this moment in 7th grade, because it may never get any better than this right here.
Wow.
And you know what, if we can do that and just kind of enjoy that and not live, because that's where I think you lose some of this, is you envision this up here, and it probably won't happen, right? And so we have to kind of use the lessons that are the most important thing. And we talk about it sometimes. The way we talk about it is, it's a big sports bus, and everybody gets on it, and at some point you're asked to get off, right? And sometimes that's in the 7th grade, and sometimes it's in the 10th grade, and sometimes it's later. But no matter where you are asked to get off the bus, sometimes that can be a benefit to you to be asked to get off the bus in 7th grade, because now you get to really find what you're good at and what you're passionate about, and get onto that, where you see people trying to hang on and try to do some things that really keep you from getting to that next thing.
Yeah. I love how you said that. Thinking about my own life, I mean, I had this vision. I was going to play in college. I was going to play in the pros.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my dream, right? And it became my identity. And then when that was taken away because of some choices I was making in my life, it was one of those things. And I really wasn't, in a sense, enjoying the journey like you're saying. I wasn't like, hey, embrace what you've got this moment, because, like you said, it could be gone tomorrow. And speaking for my, to the listeners who are parents out there that might have kids in sports, I'll tell you, if you can help them with what Marty just said, is embrace the moment, love the moment, and focus on that. And you never know what will happen. Yes, work hard and have goals, but at the same time, if your identity's stuck in that and it goes away, then you're lost.
Well,
right?
Exactly. I agree with all of that, and help them realize at the same time that whether they're the star on the team or whether they have a limited role, that look at what you're learning. Look at all the things that are going to, carry over into all the other areas of your life, right?
Yeah. No, I love that. I have to say, and I know I've said this to you a couple times, but I want my listeners to hear this. So, when I was a freshman at Brighton High School, Marty was a senior at Hillcrest High School. And, we all knew about Marty because, he was all-state and just this phenom. And Hillcrest was coming to play Brighton at Brighton. And, the place was packed. This is back when they would just sell out these places, right? It was like you had all of the Hillcrest student body, all the Brighton. It was nuts. Anyway, I remember, I was a freshman, so I didn't play varsity as a freshman. But I had to hold the clipboard, and I sat and watched you. I'm not kidding you. This is no lie, no exaggeration. For 15, 20 minutes, I just watched you in warm-ups. You did not miss a shot. And you were just doing layups. And I'm going, this guy's unreal. And anyway, and then watching you in the game and how fast you were and stuff, I was just at awe. And I remember thinking, man, I want to be like that. And now I was never as fast as you, but again, it was just one of those, like, man, you could tell this guy works hard and he loves what he's doing. And anyway, that was one of my very first experiences of my encounter with Marty.
Well, no, thank you for that. And boy, did we ever have some battles with your school, and over the years, what a fun rivalry and what a amazing.
Remember the Battle of the Axe?
Oh yeah, no, we had
those
some
wrestling matches. They would be sold out.
Yep, sold out. Yeah,
that was some of the funnest things I've ever been to. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about outside of you played sports and this and that. I know your faith means a lot to you and your family. Is that something that you grew up in as well? Does that having a belief in a higher power, in God and that kind of thing, was that important to you even as a younger kid, or with your family?
Yeah, I go back to my parents. They were people of faith, and that was certainly something that they instilled in all of us, and that was something that continues to be important in our families' lives. And this world is, it's getting big and complicated and lots of stuff, right?
Yeah,
and so that creeps into everyone's lives one way or another. And but it was something that I always felt was important to me. And when I went to college, felt like I was going to serve a mission. I didn't know exactly when, and I got down there, and it's a real slap in the face when you get down there and you see, man, these guys are really good players, right? And it's like, where do I fall in all of this? And it's like, well, maybe I'll go on my mission now and come back and and. So that seemed to work out well for me. But with my kids, my boys in particular, it was something that we tried to teach from an early age, and then I'll tell you, it is interesting. My oldest son Tyler, he goes down to BYU, and he's in the middle of this great freshman season. And there's so much chatter. That was back when Jimmer was playing, and they had all these good players, and it's like, what would this team be like? They made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament. What will it be like next year? We could make a deeper run. And, and Tyler said, time out. I'm taking off and going on my mission.
Wow.
And then he gets called to the Philippines, and you just kind of go, okay, for me as a dad, a selfish dad in the moment, you kind of go, okay, how do I feel about this, right? I mean, you hear all these stories, and people, they come home 50 pounds lighter, and you just kind of go, okay, how do we feel about this, and, and, it really tests your faith, and that's part of it for all of us, right? There's crossroads and things that come at us in life where you just kind of have to trust and say, okay, we trust, and hopefully, and we all go through things like that, and that's one of the things for me as a dad that I went through, and you just kind of turn it over, right? And you just say, okay, this is what we believe, and let's do it.
Well, I love what you said. Tyler was like, no, I'm going. Like it sounds like he was like, no, I'm going. Like sounds like that.
Well, that's something that, credit Tyler, he always wanted to go, and felt like that was important, and his mission was a big blessing in his life.
For sure.
And I've heard people ask him, when he got back many times about it, and hey, well, what could have happened over here if you didn't go? And it's like, I'm not worried about that. It was a great experience for me, and that was the time for me.
Time to go,
And and then for kind of set the example for the rest of the family to say, this is what we do.
This is what we do,
right?
Yeah.
And TJ had no problem, and he did get called to the south of France, so that was a little different than Philippines.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
But
no, that's awesome. And it worked out well for Tyler. He's the all-time leading scorer at BYU. I mean, what is that? How does that feel?
No,
when you hear that.
Both of them, right? I mean, Tyler's the all-time leading scorer, and TJ's number 2 in assists and number 7 in scoring, right? I mean, it's one of those things that, as a dad, it's just provided so many great memories, and so many, we've been all over and been able to kind of watch them play and kind of, fulfill their dreams, and they've both gone on to play professionally, and it doesn't mean that it's perfect, right? I mean, and that's kind of the one of the underlying things about your podcast is it's like, from the outside it might look like, wow, that's perfect, and it isn't, and it's there's lots of stuff that comes with all of it, and we're parents still trying to figure it out. And I think even as we get older, it's one of those things that you just, every day's a battle, and you're just trying to stay in it, and today's another day, and you get up swinging, and let's do battle, and hopefully you learn important lessons that can help you through all of it.
For sure. No, thanks for saying that. And your daughter Gabby plays volleyball, right?
No, yeah.
We got to give her a shout
Gabby,
out here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Gabby, she's a volleyball player. She played in high school, and their high school team just had so much team success, and she's gone on to play up at Northwest Nazarene University, a Division II school up in Idaho. And
great.
It's one of those things where she loves volleyball, and she loves what it's done for her. Again, trying to say, let's use volleyball instead of the other way around. And she's a junior in college, and
very cool.
And just plugging away in school, and that school is half the size of her high school, and so she she goes to class, and there's 10 or 15 kids in her class, and she's learning, and she's kind of found her way, and super proud of her, and just love the path that she's taking. So
yeah, no, thanks. Shout out to her again. You got amazing kids, an amazing family. I really do admire how you guys just carry yourself overall. I mean, it hasn't outside of even the sports thing. It's just the way you guys carry yourself.
no, thank you.
I really mean that. Speaking of that, I know that, as you're training kids, in sports and things like that, you guys had morning routines and things like that. Outside of maybe just the sports things, do you have like a morning routine, Marty, that you kind of follow? And would you mind sharing that with us if you do? And just because I'm a big believer in a morning routine and how that is a big key to success in anything, whether it's sports or with your faith or with your job or with your marriage.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I'd just love to hear your thoughts.
Well, let me say that with my kids, first of all, before I get to that, with my kids, our rule always was, I'll do whatever you guys want in the morning, as long as you get me up, right? And so for me, I didn't want to, be the one that was always having to push. And then you learn a lot, right? Because, one thing is all of your listeners know that you can't really make them, you just, sometimes it's frustrating that if they don't want to do it or they don't want to be there, it ends up being less than, but, and that's goes back to kind of finding something that they're passionate about. For me, and I guess for us, as we get a little bit older, routines over the years change a little bit, and you just kind of find yourself, okay, what motivates, what helps me, what makes my day go better, and so for me right now, I'm kind of in this mode where I do my 5 at 5. I get up and do my 5 miles at 5 in the morning. Nice. And I it is my time, and I love it. It's one of those things, and right now we're in the middle of winter, and right now, and the thing about Utah though, the cold, it's one of those where if you as long as you bundle up, you're fine. You're not cold, and so. And there's nobody out, and that's a nice, peaceful. It's dark and it's peaceful, and I can just gather my thoughts and kind of prepare for my morning and day, and it gives you some think time of how to solve, how to help, how to try and help things that are going on in your own life, your family's life, and gives you a little, and that's been a really important time for me to kind of set the table for my day. Yeah. So.
No, I love that. 5 at 5.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. I think so in my recovery, overcoming addictions and things like that, my mentor years ago said, you have to have a morning routine if you want to be successful over your addiction. And I logically, I'm kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. And I'll tell you, it's been the single greatest thing. I call it my morning meds. I'm taking my medication. Here I go. I got my morning routine that I do. And you may have heard this before, but if you win the first hour of the day, you win the day. Yeah. If you lose the first hour of the day, you spend the rest of the day looking for it. Yeah. And I've noticed that in my life. And I just know that I think that's part of the success of your kids in sports, but you as a father and as a husband, is I know, routines like that, mean a lot to you guys.
Yeah, it really does. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the guy on it said, when that alarm goes off, nobody wants to get up. Nobody, this bed feels really comfortable. And then it's like, and then he said it best. He said, and then my mind tells me, this is what we do. And that resonates with me, right?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Like, this is what we do. And you fight and you battle, and it never gets easier, and it never, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's fun, but it is satisfying. Like you say, that first hour you win it and you feel better, right. And when on the days that you don't, it's like, man, okay, you're dragging
a little bit here. Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I want to ask you about belief systems, because I call this a belief cast, and because I'm passionate about beliefs, meaning our beliefs dictate the way we behave, right? So if I believe, and my listeners know this, so they're, I'm repeating this a lot, but if I used to have this belief I wasn't smart, and then my behavior mirrored it. I would do poorly in school. I got bad grades and that kind of thing. And I took lower, resource classes. I did horrible on tests. And it wasn't that I wasn't smart. It was that I had a belief that I wasn't. The belief wasn't correct. And, again, you come across as very confident, strong, man of faith, that kind of thing. Was there any beliefs in your childhood that you struggled with that maybe, it's not something you always share with people, but was there a belief, if you could think back in your life even, that was like, man, I really struggled with this belief about me? And how were you able to overcome it if you did?
Well, it's interesting. I think I feel like I grew up in an area where it was a pretty rough area,
Yeah.
It wasn't, it's an area where I take my, I remember taking Gabby, and showing her where I grew up and, I think she was a little bit taken back, maybe a little bit scared and a little bit, and it's one of those, and really growing up, we only had one rule. We had to ride our bike to the baseball park, which, is a 10-minute bike ride. And the only rule was you don't stop, right?
You just keep going.
You don't stop for anything.
Yeah.
And, 'cause there's trouble if you do stop. And, and I don't know if this answers your question, but I remember just kind of being a kid and, and just kind of living in fear a little bit, and it's like, man, there's trouble around every corner, and feeling like you're looking over your shoulder, and and maybe that's, looking back, maybe that's one of the things that just kind of helped you keep going, popping, doing things instead of, but in high school, it was one of those things where I made sure I was friends with every group of, kids in high school, and that served me well. But that carries over. If you have a little bit of trepidation, a little fear, a little, that can impact lots of things, right? For
sure.
Kids, I mean, you don't know why somebody's not doing well in school, and it might be a fear of something else that it's like, I don't care, because you just kind of let down. I'm not dealing with this over here, and it affects maybe some other areas,
Sure,
but I remember that being something real for me for several years.
For sure. Yeah, I started to kind of laugh a little bit. I remember the rumbles at Belgium Waffle.
Hey, those are real too,
and they
right?
were real.
No.
And I remember being at one of those, like a spectator. I was not a fighter by any means, but I was just going, man, this is really happening.
They're ready
scary.
to,
it was scary.
They're ready to inflict some pain, man, do some damage, right?
I know. It's so funny how we were such big rivals, and now I'm friends with everyone from the Winter Hill. And it's just funny.
When I grew up, I went to Brighton High School's team camp. You guys used to go to College of Eastern Utah, and Coach Reed let me go with your team because our team didn't do anything like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And he let me go, and I got to be buddies with all the guys. And
that's cool.
And so, that was before there were camps on every corner.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal for me, and a big deal that, the guys let me come and, treated me like an equal. And so that was kind of fun too. So
I love that. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a self-reflecting, kind of a deeper question is, what does it mean to be a dad?
Yeah. What a great question. I think you might answer that differently when you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s and now 50s, right?
Yeah.
Because we're learning some lessons too, and and my dad passed away 3 years ago, and there's not a day that I don't either talk to him or think about him,
Sure.
or, kind of hear his voice in my head of what he would say to me in certain situations, and that has meant more to me over the years, not less. And
Right.
What a wise man he was. And so for me as a dad, I want my kids to know that their dad is an anchor for them and is somebody that they can count on.
Right.
Somebody that as their life ebbs and flows, which everyone's does, that I'm here and I want to be consistent. I want them to know that, we all go through things in life, and but your dad's always here for you, and, and there for you, that we can work through things hopefully together, and hopefully, that there's not a finish line. So we just have to know that, as life throws things at us, and it always does, that hopefully they can look at their dad as an anchor and somebody that can, give them a little bit of wisdom like my dad did for me.
Yeah. Wow. Very well said. Thank you for, I know it was a tough,
No,
a deeper question, not a tough question, but a deeper question, because I think, I don't know, and I don't want to put words in your own mouth, but I would imagine sometimes, everyone views you as the athlete, and even still probably, but I think, like I said, in the beginning, that's something you did. It's not who you are. And, being this anchor, as you say, as this father figure, and, an anchor as a husband as well, and a man of faith who we keep talking about, I think when it comes down to it, that's probably the foundation, I would imagine, of your life.
Yeah, I think for all of us, we need certain things that kind of guide us, right? You need that North Star, and you look at it, and it's almost unfair for these kids coming up. And, there's so many bright, shiny objects that you can just get caught,
For
chasing.
sure. Yeah.
And, for me and for us, we've tried to just say there's a North Star there, and let that be our values, and kind of aim for that and shoot for that. And, hopefully our actions will, most of the time fall in line with that. But, this is rough, man. It's rough out there for these kids, and not easy stuff that we're all having to, deal with. And I see it, all the time. And these kids, man, our hats off to them, because they got some stuff coming at them that is unbelievable,
For sure.
And it's not going to probably get any easier either.
Yeah,
right?
I know. It seems to go. Again, probably another good reason to get involved in sports, just to keep you busy, right?
Well, and whatever it is, right?
Or whatever.
Who cares what it is?
Yeah.
Just find something that it's like, no, we're going for it. And it keeps you out of the other stuff, any of it, and that takes a real commitment on parents' part, right?
For sure.
Sometimes parents are, maybe it's too much and too many things, but and then you could argue, can that really be? Because kids really need to be, pushed and keep their attention going in something positive. For sure. Because there's lots of distractions,
No, I love that. What do you love most about you? You're gonna love this question.
Well, well, that is an interesting question, isn't it? What do I love most about me? this is where we'll hope Tiffanie is listening, that I am always right and that I know so much, and that
Yeah, right.
it's I guess if what do I love most about me is, I think what I can say is, and hopefully my kids would agree with this, is that, sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's humbling, but I'm somebody that you can keep it real with. And maybe that's what I like most is, I know my kids feel like they have an open line to say, no, Dad, that isn't right, and you don't know, and they have the green light to go at me, and that leads to lots of fun and interesting conversations.
Sure, yeah.
But I think it is healthier to be able to have that instead of a dictatorship or somebody that authoritarian, where it's like, you know what, I'm right, and I'll go down believing that I'm right, and and maybe that's something that kind of leads to a little healthier relationships in my life.
Yeah, very well said. I know it's a
no,
kind
it's
of
a good
out
question.
of the park.
Yeah, no, it's a good.
You're a host of your own podcast with Mike Smith, and I think is Maddie still involved too? Maddie Rasmussen.
Yep, she just had a baby, so shout out to Maddie.
And it's called Blood, Sweat, and Sports Parenting, and you can check that out at sportsparentingpodcast.com. And this is an awesome podcast where you feature some really amazing people, celebrities, but then you also do segments on, other things as well, about this whole subject. And I think it's a very unique podcast, because I don't think anyone's doing something like that. And so tell us a little bit about that, and why you decided to do this.
Yeah, it's interesting. So probably, I don't know, it's probably getting to be 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when my kids were going through all their stuff, people would come and ask me, thinking there's a magic bullet, a silver bullet, something. It's like, tell me how you do it. And really, and hopefully that's coming across in this interview, that, our conversation, that, there isn't a silver bullet, and it no matter what we're all doing, it's just work, right? Yeah. Every day, it's just kind of being consistent, and back to what I said earlier, you're trying to use sports as a vehicle to something better, and I see it all the time. As an AAU basketball coach, I don't want basketball to be something, because for 99% of players that envision playing in the NBA and being that guy, that's not going to happen, right? And that's the reality. And so you're really trying to say, okay, back to the bus analogy, when are you getting off the bus, and what does that look like for you? And my vision for the podcast was always, I don't want to come onto the podcast with all the answers. I want to come and I want to look at people and say, how did you do it? Tell me about your parents. Because, Mike Smith, I mean, everybody we talk to, there hasn't been anybody that hasn't been willing to, it's like, yeah, we'll definitely come on and we'll share our story. And really what I'm interested in, because Mike, he's in the NBA scene, and he's like, oh, we can get any of these guys. And I'm like, I want their dad. I want their mom.
Yeah.
I don't want them. I'm happier if I get their dad, right? And let's get behind the scenes. Let's get a peek behind the curtain and say, what does this look like? Tell us about, how did you do it? And what you find out is everybody has a different path. I picture a big tree, and you're or a big mountain, and there's just all these trails weaving and to get to the top of the mountain. And that's what it is in that world, right?
Yeah, right.
Everybody has a different path, and everybody knows their kid better than what a coach
Sure.
or somebody else might know.
Right.
And we want to know your story and tell us what you did. Tell us, how was your son or daughter growing up, and and how did that become so special, right? And so, not coming to it with the answers, just tell us your story, right? And let's hear that story. And it's been really fascinating. Your listeners may know Tony Finau, but they come to America, they don't know anything about golf.
Yeah, nothing.
Right? And his dad said, "Look, we came here. He didn't know anything about golf. He's like, I went and sat in the parking lot of a golf course and watched people drive up and get their clubs out and go in." And he talks about how he could afford 1 bucket of balls a week for their boys, and how in his home garage he put up a mattress that they could hit balls into. And then we had the conversation of how that would be different if his boys had social media. They didn't know the bar out there. They didn't know anybody was doing it any different. They didn't know, right?
Yeah,
and
wow.
What a cool story for other parents to hear. Or or Jim Nance comes on and says, "You know what? My mom and dad believed that I could, be the guy talking about the Masters, be on the MC for the Masters."
Yeah.
And they instilled in me a belief that I would be able to do that. And and that's
amazing.
And he talks about some incredible stuff that and everybody has this path. And I think that's our job as parents is to be open enough that we say, maybe it isn't to be the guy. Maybe it's the guy to be announcing the guy. And maybe it's, and really let's be open to all of it and be good listeners and good observers, and just say, where could this go, and how cool would this be, and be passionate about it. But so that was kind of always my vision with it. And I told my kids about it, and they pushed me. They bought me the equipment. They're like, you got to do this.
They're like, you got to do it now.
And
we got you the equipment.
Yeah, I approached Mike and Maddie and just said, what do you guys think about this? And Mike spent 20 plus years with the LA Clippers, and now he does a great job with the Jazz. And
he's excellent. Yeah, he's really good at what he's doing.
Yeah, and and they're passionate about it. Maddie just had her first baby, and
that's
so
awesome.
She's, and just all these different perspectives of where we are in life, and we think it's a great name, Blood, Sweat, and Sports Parenting. What could be more apropos than that, right? I mean, that's.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think, and I love the approach too, and I love what you just said there, and I think you just described. That's what life is. That's how it is. We're all taking this different path, and it goes back to what you said even earlier, Marty, about that's why it's so important. Let's enjoy the moment while we have it, because when are we getting off the bus? Whether it's the bus of sports or the bus of life.
Well, and
right?
Yes. And we're just getting ready to start our season 2, and
awesome.
we're, I know your reputation for being consistent every week, and good job for that, because we understand this is a beast. It just keeps coming at you, and there's not a shortage of stories. You're just being pulled in lots of different directions, and it has to be a priority.
Yeah.
And so we're learning some of those things. So,
sure.
Yeah.
No. Well, it's an amazing platform that you're doing there, and I love the approach.
No, thank you. If I can, let
Please.
me. I was gonna say something with that, and
please.
I think it's one of those that as we look at podcasts, and in that vein, season 2 for me will be getting somebody that is the CEO of a company or somebody that is
Mm-hmm.
really good at something outside of sports.
Yeah.
That's somebody that got off the bus in the 7th grade,
Yeah.
right? And what role did youth athletics play that helped you learn the lessons that
Right.
helped you get to be what you're really good
Absolutely.
at, right?
Yeah.
And that to me is as fascinating and as interesting and as helpful to parents as somebody that's the star player on their high school team or college team,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. I love that.
And and us as parents being okay with all of it,
Yeah. No, thanks for saying that. I love that, and I'm excited to see where that goes. And man, there's so many things we could keep talking about. I think I'm going to ask you if there's someone listening to you right now, Marty, who is struggling. They're in a dark place. And I've had a lot of people who listen to this who are in that space and they're just stuck. And it could be many things. What would you tell that one person? You've already shared some amazing things with us, but what could you say to that person right now who's in a dark place? What would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them you're not alone, first of all. All of us find ourselves there at some point in our life, and I would say that you make up your mind when on your days, because there's lots of people listening that are having great days and feeling like, hey, life's pretty good. In those days, make up your mind that when tough times come, you say that in your mind. It's like, this is what we do.
Ooh, I love
right?
that.
This is what we do, and we're fighters. We don't give up. And whatever that means, whatever I have to do to put one foot in front of the other. And I'm certainly not welcoming any more trials in my life, right? But it's one
Right.
of those things that,
Yeah.
If we can say, this is what we do, this is who we are, and, it sometimes it gives us courage, sometimes it helps us lean on our faith, sometimes it gives us strength, sometimes it helps us give strength to others, and it's what we do. We fight, and we just compete every day, and whatever that means for, somebody that's out there that's in a dark place today. We all, you're going to come out of yours and somebody else is going to go in theirs. And, and this is what we do. We fight.
Man. Drop the mic right there. I mean, that's beautifully said. That's what we do. Man, I love that. Thank you for sharing that powerful advice right there. And thanks for being on the show, Marty. Means the world to me.
No, loved it. Thank you for having me.
It felt like 5 minutes. We've been on almost an hour.
Yeah.
So, if people want to reach out to you, Marty, and if they want to, subscribe and download your podcast and be a part of that, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, our podcast is everywhere that you would listen to any podcasts, and so you'd be able to find it just by searching Blood, Sweat, and Sports Parenting.
Okay.
You can go to the website sportsparentingpodcast.com and be able to follow. And we're trying to grow it out and
Sure.
and have sports psychologists and people that care and
Right.
go behind the scenes and and kind of reach a broader,
Yeah.
for people that are, it's like, oh, we have a unique situation over here. And, and that's part of it for me now is just being able to be in a situation where you take it down to an individual situation, and if you can play a role in helping figure it out, that's I find joy in that, and that's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And again, thanks for being on. And I challenge anyone listening to this right now to go subscribe to his podcast. Also share this episode with everyone you know, especially those that may be struggling, because there was so many words of wisdoms and principles that Marty talked about that could help you in all areas of your life, and share it with them. And, you guys always do. So, but thank you for always, supporting this amazing thing that we're doing here. Everyone has a story. Marty has a story, and we're all blessed to hear it today. And so just pinch myself that I'm sitting here with Marty Haws in my office. If I would, back when I was that freshman watching you hit every shot, like if I would have known one day you're actually going to be interviewing.
I wish I was making as many as you thought I was making.
But thanks for tuning in, everyone. I love you guys so much. A shout out to Marty's family, Tiffanie and TJ and Tyler and Maddie, Gabby. And I think you're a great example in and out of sports, on and off the field or court or whatever. You guys just carry yourself so well. And I learn a lot from you, even from a distance. And so
thank you very much. That means a lot to me. I certainly enjoyed being here and reconnecting. So.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I was going to say go Bengals, but that probably, I don't want to have another
You can.
rumble.
It doesn't.
Go Bengals, go Huskies.
Gone.
Yep, go Huskies. Anyway, love you guys. And again, thanks for tuning in and believing in me. Take care.